Mm-hmm. All right. I'm s- I'm starting at least close to 9 because that's what I said I would do. Um, but I'm not ready, as per usual. Um, I didn't realize that this debate was going to go 90 minutes. 90 minutes. And so they're still going. Let me set up the live stream if anybody's chilling. It's good to be here. Um, I do keep one eye on the political situation, as sort of annoying as it can be. I do think that politics is downstream of theology, and I think keep one eye. There we go. I think we learn about this. I think we learn what people think about God by how they act. And one of those places is here in the world of politics. So, welcome, 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 welcome. Um, I remember I had a setup. I felt like I had a setup last time that actually worked. And then I messed it up. And then I messed it up. So, anyway, that's chat. Okay, well, whatever. Um, what are these people talking about? And what are we learning? Are we learning anything? Now, I will say that they have, it seems like, done a good job of just, I don't know. They didn't go to commercial, yeah, until just now. That's pretty wild. That's a good chunk of time to just let people talk. Um, the channel also, in one ways, one of the things that we one of the things that we notice, or one of the ways we sort of uncover theology, is also in the realm of dialogue. And so that's the other reason that kind of podcasting, presidential debates and stuff like that is sort of interesting. So hang in there with me as I still kind of get some stuff settled. If you're hanging with me, let me know you're here. You know, again, I'm sorry. I was trying to fix this, but there it is. Okay, there's a way I can see. I've had trouble seeing chat, and I'm sorry about that. So I think I finally got it. Now, as long as I don't mess anything up, as long as I don't touch anything, um, then I should be able to maintain a good sort of live stream. I should be able to see if you're commenting, and I want to catch those. So we're chilling. I do want to find. I need to go back and go to the spot where they talked about abortion, but I don't have that queued up, so I'm gonna have to scrub through this here for a second. I felt like that was maybe for me, that's a salient point. That's a point that is important to me. And if you live in a society where there is no God, how do you have that conversation about abortion? How do you have a conversation about what is life if you live in sort of a secular world? And so it's sort of crazy to me to see the conversation happening, or people trying to navigate that from a secular point of view. And maybe we don't need to um, hear them say it again. I think I understand Trump's point about it. And we did talk about it we talked about it in the last live stream with the Leviathan. If there is no God, how do you enforce contracts? How do you enforce law and rules and stuff like that? It really is just people kind of, it's up to the will of the people. Now, let me know. I don't know. Yo, Grizz, how's your trip, man? How was your drive? I saw you posted something, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. But I hope you're doing well, man. There's the Estuary Northwest going on. It's too late to do any advertisement on it, because if you're not there already, I don't think you'll make it. But think I might have to. I think I might actually have to use one of these other streams. No, shoot. I thought I could search the transcript, but obviously, I guess not while it's going. So I think we can close Timcast. We're not going to want to listen to that. And why does it? I guess there's a rather long ad break. And so I can't even look through the rest of the video. Is that right? No, I'm missing. Okay, I'm just not making any sense. So I'm going to play a little bit of this and see where they are.
Epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy.
Okay, so excellent drive. Good to hear. So it starts Thursday. So maybe you do have time. You could get there. Estuary, Northwestuary. Okay, so they're talking about January 6th, which means I think... No, that's their opening statements. Let's see where they are.
When you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people could vote, and that's why it's possible for her to get the vote. 50-50.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign.
Okay.
Hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would...
Execution after...
I wanted to get Trump's stance. I mean, I think Kamala's, she's just basically, we need Roe v. Wade back. She sort of lacks substance. So how do you engage with that? Like, how do you... Emily, what's up? Oh, okay, Grizz, you got a story to tell? The guy, you gave a guy a lift? Yeah, we're a constitution. Well, that's the way it was set up. It was set up to be sort of a constitutional thing. Also, I still have the AC running, so let me know if my AC is too loud or if my vocals aren't loud enough. My kids are sleeping, so I'm trying to be somewhat quiet. I'm trying to watch the thing here. Okay, so Trump's position on abortion is an interesting one because he's caught between Scylla and Charybdis, right? He wants to keep his base, but he's always been a little bit liberal on this. I mean, there's a whole contingent of like conservative Americans that want abortion to be illegal, and I think that the conversation is too nuanced for political theater, and unfortunately doesn't ever get really talked about in a good way. And maybe this platform isn't even a good one for that, because it needs clarity, but it also needs there's a human element to this, that it's just a very difficult situation, in that we're talking about what is a life, when does it begin, how do I best steward that. Now, for me, the place where it becomes an issue is when one life is at stake over another. So there's a scenario where a woman is having complications in childbirth, and you have to make decisions. Again, how do you make these decisions in a secular framework? I mean, people are just meat at that point. I'm sort of being hyperbolic there, but I think if God exists, then you have discernment, you have prayer, you sort of talk about those decisions before you're faced with making those decisions, that type of thing. And I don't know what you guys think, but to me, it seems like Trump kicking Roe v. Wade down to the states and sort of overruling it on a national level is a positive thing. I believe that is a positive thing. I think that you give it to the people to debate it on that level. So let me know what you think about that. I just felt like that was a positive thing. is it what I want? But no, I mean, I'm an exile in this world. Like I this is Babylon, man. Like we are behind enemy lines. Like I realize I live like I can't expect people who have not met the person of Jesus to behave like they have met the person of Jesus. And yeah, I mean, I get that, you know, it's the idea that, you know, if you make abortions illegal, then women will seek abortions in dangerous ways. I do think some of those statistics have been kind of challenged, if not debunked, of like when does that actually happen? It's made a big deal. Now, of course, I say this, and it's not, maybe this isn't the right platform because I don't have those stats in front of me. You know, I'm just talking from my own experience. So yeah, you create yeah, again, so I mean that's a good point that needs careful conversation. Are you forcing people into an even worse decision, let's say, that they're going to go down some back alley and what have you? And of course you might, but, you know, again, there is a question there of the problem then is not whether or not the country that you live in has proper laws and regulations about abortion. The question then is, what is the condition of the soul of humanity? Like, where are we in humanity where these things are happening, where people want to perpetuate harm? I'll say it that way. That's one way I would say it. And in my point, what I mean by that is something that's often brought up, and you know what, I'm gonna take these notes, and I'm gonna set them aside here, and then I'm gonna put them somewhere where I can read them better, so it's not so glaring in my face. So let me know. You know, again, I'm sort of speaking just from that one point of, you know, Trump did seem like he moved the needle to some degree. Maybe that's a bad expression to use, but he did something to say, hey, this issue is far more nuanced than we can handle on a national level, and what's up, mostly, and we need to kick it down to the states, and the will of the people need to determine this. And so that takes me back to the question of what is the condition of the soul, and are there, would it be the people of God who would help someone who is in a situation where they might perpetuate harm? What do I mean by that? A lot of people will say that the exceptions in the abortion case are, you know, rape. Sorry, that's not like a great way of looking at it. Not that you need to see this, but I'm just trying to, you know, I'm respecting the fact that it's sort of a visual platform. It's like rape, incest. You know, now we need to give people this option, and I wonder about that. You know, again, I'm just think that the conversation is more nuanced. Rape and incest are evil. I would agree with that. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But abortions don't undo the evil, and so we perpetuate a potential trauma. And maybe some people think, oh, I don't care, it's no big deal to me. Well, it's still a potential trauma. It's a potential evil. And again, if there is no God, how do you answer the question of when does life begin? You can't answer that question. I don't know that you can, even as a Christian. I don't even know how I answer that question. But if there's even a possibility that you're terminating a life, then you're just perpetuating the evil. Even if there's a possibility, even if you don't know for sure, you know, you have to respect the fact that there's a possibility. And so, and bear with me, is like, I've actually not really ever spoken on this subject in like a public setting like this. And so yeah, just bear with me as I handle this stuff on a very personal level, on a very human level. And I do realize that I have a tendency to sort of talk about certain things in sort of an unsophisticated way. And I hope that's not the case here, because I respect the fact that this is a very difficult question. And I don't know that Trump sort of answered it for me here. You know, I guess I could show the closed captions. I don't know. And we could just read it. But I guess I'm launching into my conversation with myself now. Hollywood comment. There's going to be another question after this debate as to who seemed more genuine and more authentic. The younger voters are gonna determine that. They can tell who's fake online better than older people. And so, when does life begin? And again, I just think, I guess that's my stance. Like, if I put myself in the shoes of a politician who's having to have this debate in front of a nation, you want to give people hope. You can acknowledge that there are circumstances that are evil, that are traumatic, and we're not overlooking those traumas, but we are not of the people who believe that perpetuating trauma is a way to heal from trauma. There's another way. How do you heal from trauma? And again, this is why I think politics is downstream of theology. If there is no God, what is the answer to that? I mean, I guess medication or maybe therapy might be an answer, and those things can help. But true healing, I asked my students this, you know, is there anything that once you put it in the hands of God cannot be transformed into good? Is there any evil in this world that cannot be transformed into good? You can think of Joseph being betrayed by his brothers, but ultimately ending up, though he spent time in prison, though he was betrayed, he ends up saving their lives, right? And there's forgiveness at the end of that story. And so it seems like the evil that they intended, and he even says this, the evil that you intended, God planned for good, God created into good, or something like that. And so he has that perspective of what people would call sort of this post-traumatic growth, that you can truly heal from real trauma. And I just don't think that making I just don't think the way that our country has handled this is a sane way. I think it seems to me to perpetuate trauma. It doesn't heal trauma. That's my, you know, obviously let me know. Yeah, without God, the highest good is self. And so, yeah, exactly. And you see what I mean, Emily, as far as like, if we look at politics as downstream of theology, we can see how this conversation is taking place on a political level. You realize that, yeah, in a secular world, like basically we're saying there is no God, I'm God. So I do get to choose. And that's why, like, what is it? I was trying to sort of, oh man, you should read Philip K. Dick's book. This idea of the right to choose what happens to my body. Now, I believe in the sanctity of every individual, but I believe that because I believe God created every individual. Now, take God off the table and you're in a secular society. It's like, I have the right to choose what happens to my own body. What does that mean? What does my own body mean? It's a sack of guts with hair, and I didn't choose to be here. I didn't create myself. What am I, the end product of a process that didn't have me in mind? Do I possess my body? Is this body mine? did I buy it? Was there a transaction that took place that made this body mine? Or is this body, again, I'm trying to think of this from a secular, the body is just part of matter. What is matter? Like, so the idea that I have the right to choose what happens to my body is a weird thing. Like, it's just a weird, where does this right come from? I don't think you can define what the body is, which is, of course, happening sort of socially and politically. Like, what is a woman? What is a woman? Well, if you have God, if God is in the right place, you can define that. You can define what a woman is. And I think you can define it in a way that preserves all the dignity of what a woman actually is and elevates the status of women and the body. And you can even look at Nancy Pearcey's work, Percy's work. She wrote a book called Love Thy Body. She wrote another one. And I think she does a great job of sort of preserving the sanctity of the human body, which I think, honestly, sometimes in Christianity has sort of been, I don't know, denigrated, but just sort of overlooked. So what is the body? The body's just matter and guts. Where do rights come from if there are no gods? Maybe the rights come from the state. Yeah, on the other side of the spectrum is something like The Handmaid's Tale, and I don't know enough about that work. I know there's a book and a show, which seems an evil. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that we swing, and of course we're trying to navigate a really large scale city the size of a nation, right? And the internet is bringing everybody together and separating everybody, and so there's this it's so big that how do you navigate it? And I think that there would be something, somebody would say that, yeah, certainly the religious solution maybe would end in something like A Handmaid's Tale. And I would, and so to that, I would just, I guess I'm hopefully not advocating for some sort of religious solution, but just one that brings humanity back into harmony with its creator. And then navigating difficult life decisions based off of that. It's a tough world. It is tough. And I think there's some basic stuff that's just sort of overlooked sometimes in this conversation, but I mean, we're in a society that has sort of lost the idea that sex is sacred, and so it's just sort of, it's just sort of, again, I just choose whatever I want, and it's like, okay, well, that makes babies, and so, yeah, you're gonna have to take responsibility for that. That might be hard. So when do we I don't know. I in my mind I was gonna play a clip here. I don't know. Let's just talk. I just like to maybe hear from you guys. I know it doesn't make for good, there's no I'll play this Joe Rogan clip here in a second. I will do that because it's on. I got it all queued up already. Because I thought that was interesting. Joe sort of speaking up about abortion. Okay. If you have not read Philip K. Dick's book, and I'll admit I haven't actually read it, the whole thing. I've read excerpts from it. I get about a paragraph in, and the book just kind of I understand the premise, and it's disturbing enough that I sort of shudder through it. But it's right here. I knew I put it somewhere. It's called The Pre-Persons, and he works out this idea essentially is if there's no God, here's how I would put it actually. If life is a miracle, what is life? What is life? Life is a miracle. I don't know when it starts. Like, if you have a Bible verse that could clue me in, I'd read that Bible verse. But I don't know when life starts. It's a mystery. It's a miracle. And it's okay. I'm okay with that because I live in a world that I don't have to govern. I trust that God is governing this. So do I have to know? Not really. I don't have to know when life begins. I don't. I just go, that's a miracle. And then I sit back and I give glory to God for his wonderful creation. And that's a miracle. Life is a miracle. I didn't choose to be here. Nobody consulted me on whether or not I wanted to live. It seems to me that I have a creator, and that creator has a purpose for me. That's a wonderful thing. So what is life? And then the question, I think, is with regards to abortion is, what is the unborn? What is the unborn a living person? And even if I can't answer that question, I can answer it in a way that would allow me to make decisions about how we should govern things how we should govern or legislate abortion. If it's even possible that the unborn is a living human, then you have to legislate abortion according to that, if it's even possible. Because you don't want to, again, perpetuate evil based off of other evil. Now, if you, again, it's nuanced, but if you're just having sex and you got pregnant, it's like that's where babies come from, by the way. So if you engage in this act, this might be the result. And we would hope that result would be beautiful and sacred, and not just discarded. And even if it's like a teen pregnancy, it's like, I don't like that. That could be very traumatic. And even you could think, well, then the kid is growing up with a teen mom. It's like, again, is there any circumstance in the world that God can't transform into something good? Yeah, teen mom. Maybe teen mom and her mom raised the child. Her mom and dad. Maybe it brings a family back together. Maybe someone can adopt that child who can't otherwise have a child. I mean, there's all kinds of other options out there other than, I don't know, the abortion option, I guess. Because even if it's possible, I would think that we would have to legislate according to that. Now, again, in a secular world, if there is no God, it's like, well, what is life? Well, we don't really know. Okay. We can define life sort of from a biological standpoint, and then go from there and hope it works out for us. Not sure that it will. Let me see if I can get this. Probably not. Well, characteristics of life. Here you go. Here's the biological, it's like, you're made of meat. That's the characteristics. Yeah, cellular organization, reproduction, metabolism, homeostasis, heredity, responding to stimuli, growth and development, adaptation through evolution. Which, okay, I don't know. Maybe I should have, where did I get this? I got this one because there was a nerd on it. You got to have the nerd definition. That's science-y. Adaptation, growth, the possibility to, those are all helpful, maybe, definitions of life, but it seems like this would include an unborn. It seems like an unborn are these things. So now what do we do? So yeah, I think it's something to take very seriously, I guess, is my point. That's my point to that. If there is no God, we're stuck defining life on sort of material definitions. Once you open the door to defining life in any other way other than that life begins at the point of conception, you're trapped defining life on material terms. It used to be like if the heart if the heart stopped beating, it's like, you're gone, you're a goner. And then it was like, oh, well, we can actually bring you back. Like, we can do CPR, we can resuscitate people. And it's like, so, this would be sort of a physical attribute of that's no longer a living person. Their heart is no longer beating. Well, nowadays it's like, we're good. So we got to scrub that one. And then it's like, oh, well, flat brainwave. It's like, even then, it's like, and then Philip K. Dick goes one step further in his fiction. And, if you want to read it, go for it. But he basically advocates, and it's a fiction, but he says basically if we run this, if we take this out to its logical conclusion, then who's to say we can't decide when life really begins postpartum, post-birth? Like, if it's just defined on sort of the cellular level or the material level, and it's not at the point of conception, then what about somebody who has not matured to the point of doing algebra, which was what he was pointing out. Like, so this idea of, what is it? Metabolism, reproduction, growth and development. That would be one of the markers of life, right? And it's like, well, this person hasn't developed to the point of being able to do algebra yet, and therefore we can terminate this. If it's not alive, it doesn't seem like it can do algebra. And so in his dystopian fiction, abortion has been legalized up until the point of about 12 years old, which is about the time when you can start doing algebra. And then I think there's a teacher in here who forgets all of his algebra and goes to the abortion clinic. He's like an old man, right? But he forgot how to do algebra. So he's like, he must, it's time to abort, or whatever, which is terrible. I'm not sure why I'm laughing at that, but it's just showing the sort of the ridiculousness. I don't know why I have this headphone in my ears. I'm not listening to the clips. But it shows the ridiculousness of this system without God. How do we have this conversation? I'm not necessarily a fan of Trump. I don't. I'm not a fan of Kamala. I would say I know for sure I can't vote for Kamala. Like, that's just plain and it's just out there in my face. I just can't, based off of my my worldview. Do you take the lesser of two evils option? I don't know. But I don't know that Philip K. Dick's vision, his dystopian fiction, is it's not illogical. And again, once you pull God off the table and you stop defining life as a miracle created by God, and when it happens, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't change how I live. I have to preserve that life at all costs if I can, because it's a miracle. And I didn't, like, even the kids that I have, I didn't make those kids. I participated in making those kids, but I didn't make those kids. I have no, like, so my responsibility is to preserve that life at all costs. But if we're all just matter and we're all just meat sacks, then, I mean, it starts to unravel. It really does start to unravel. And I think Philip K. Dick is pointing out the ridiculousness of the situation. If there is no God, there is no answer to this question of abortion, how to legislate it. There just isn't. I guess maybe there is. There is one that's right in front of us, and that is, if there is no God, then the state defines life and how to regulate it. And then it's not a question of algebra. It's a question of are you benefiting the state? Are you a benefit, or are you a threat? Yeah. Interesting world that we live in. But of course, tyrants will always burn down the city so that they can rule over the ashes. That's kind of that's the end game for them. I've talked a lot. Any other any questions? I'll get to this Joe Rogan clip. I thought it was interesting. Trump does bring up IVF. I felt like, again, that conversation is sort of nuanced. I think a lot of people, I get it. Like, a lot of people are, I posted this. I posted this. If you follow me on X, it's in this thread somewhere. There it is. So it's in the Pre-Persons by Philip K. Dick. And you can find it there. Yeah, I think probably IVF maybe is, maybe that's a conversation for another day. It was weird to hear people kind of conflate that with abortion. Like, I get it. Like, I get that, like, again, we're going to do everything we can to preserve life. And we're going to go off. We're going to say, if it's even possible that it's life, we have to treat it like it is. Because that's the responsibility that God has given us. To defend life, to preserve life, to steward life. I do think that from a political standpoint, the trap is just join this party that says this extreme thing, right? So abortion, just there's no laws. You could just always get an abortion whenever you want. That's one extreme. The other extreme is, like, obviously that it would be, illegal, and you would be sort of criminally charged for it. And it seems like the sort of the lazy way to have that conversation is you just join one of those camps and then you yell at each other. And I guess my point is to sort of advocate for a more nuanced conversation, because I think there's more here. I think there's more to be talked about. And I think it might even lead us to something that could benefit us, I guess. Something that can benefit our nation, the world, again, sort of the soul of humanity. Like, that's really the question. So let's see what is interesting. Of course, it's going to come up in the debate, but
check.
No, excuse me. It's just interesting that I don't even know how it came up in Joe's podcast, but there was, here's Joe.
Check it out.
It's weird.
It only happens every now and again to people. It only happens to one half of the population.
Yes.
And it's the reason why life is here, and it's treated as if it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's one of the main focuses in this election is whether or not you can kill the baby. I'm sorry to say it that way. I mean, I'm not in any way trying to take away someone's right to choose. I'm not that guy, but I'm just saying what it actually is you're deciding whether or not someone should be able to tell you whether you could terminate the baby that's inside of you that's going to become a person.
Yeah. And I just have this one clip, but you can hear him.
Weird.
It only happens every now and again to people.
Well, yeah, it's weird. It only happens to half the, it's the only women that can be pregnant. It's like, I'm so glad that we've, but again, and I've said this as I cover Joe's podcast, I think one of the reasons that his podcast is popular is that he's curious and he doesn't just take for granted. It's like the fact that we take pregnancy for granted means we don't fully understand what's going on. Like, it's weird, right? Like, you have a person inside you, isn't it? Can we just stop and just, like, you have a person? You're telling me you have a person inside you. Okay. And we're not, nobody's pausing to just go, that's a freaking miracle. That's so they kind of start with that.
Yes.
Well, it only happens to one half of the population.
Yes.
And it's the reason why life is here, and it's treated as if it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's one of the main focuses in this election is whether or not you can kill the baby.
Okay. So, and he kind of takes that one back a little bit, but to decide whether or not you can kill the baby. I mean, when you say it like that, I think we're getting a glimpse at sort of what's in Joe's heart. And I think that's probably in the hearts and minds of a lot of people. I'll be honest. I think that there are a lot of people out there who probably advocate for abortion that if they took a step back and just really thought about it, they'd go, man, can't be any other way. That's a person in there. That's a freaking person. And so now we get to have a more nuanced conversation. Yeah. Do we have some difficult decisions to make? Hell yeah, we do. You know, or heck yeah, we do. Yeah, I don't know. We don't need to bring hell into it. That's serious. That's serious, you know. But yeah, I mean, if people aren't given the opportunity to take a step back and talk about this at the level of, this is a miracle. And even if you don't believe in God, even if God's not part of the equation, you go, we don't really know what this is. And because we don't know whether it is alive or not, we can't just pretend like it's not so that we can kill it. Like that is, again, we're perpetuating trauma by advocating for more trauma. That's not how we heal the soul of humanity. Yeah, he called it a baby. He said it. The major thing about this election is we're going to decide, you know. And of course, you know, again, this is why podcasting, I think, is something of an antidote. Now Joe's got to sit back and think. And this one went on for how long? I think it was definitely over 2 hours. And I didn't finish it, so I don't know if they came back to this, but now you've got to do some serious thinking. Do I really believe that? Kamala should endorse Trump. I mean, you know, he's been saying that she's taking his policies, so she might as well. But
election is whether or not you can kill the baby.
It's yeah.
I'm sorry to say it that way. I mean, I'm not in any way trying to take away someone's right to choose. I'm not that guy, but I'm just saying what it actually is.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take away anybody's right to choose, but I am just asking the question: what is it? So I'm not here trying to jump to the end of the line. I'm here trying to engage in a conversation. I'm here saying, what is Untitled Sermon? That's not where I am. What is it? What is life? Can I dang, there it is. What is life? What is it? Can we have that conversation? And I think that's important. I think that, again, the political piece of this just gets bogged down in, I don't know, political speak.
Important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now,
bring the issue back to the people so they can vote. And I think like there's some, I think just from a political standpoint, and I'm not a legal scholar or anything like that. It's just Roe v. Wade was just bad law. It just was bad from the beginning. And I think even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, didn't she? Google this, fact check me. I think at one point she even said this is going to get overturned. Like it just doesn't. It's not going to hold up to scrutiny. And Trump was just the one who scrutinized it, and it didn't hold up. And now it's a talking point, again, moving the needle, bringing it to the states, I would hope would mean that we can have that nuanced conversation that I'm talking about, more nuanced conversation. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. If you don't want to hear Trump, let me know. Somebody's got to give me the chat because I'll just roll with it.
Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your...
All right, yeah. So you can see, it's funny, like this debate, I think it's actually still ongoing. It was weird to watch them sort of correct Trump, but then set up Kamala. Like, there were several questions where the moderator essentially gives Kamala her debate, like her issue. It's like, Vice President Harris, you've spoken out, you've advocated for, and then gives a sort of line by line sort of statement of like, well, this is what she should be saying, but now the moderator is saying it, and then just giving it to her to kind of massage, and you see that, and I don't know how many people pick up on that, but again, going back to Joe Rogan, which is maybe a little bit more on brand for me. I think that podcasting and just even like the way we are using the internet is sifting through to get at like the truth of who that person is and what they're talking about, the truth of or the truth behind the matter or something like. Do people recognize that Kamala is being sort of assisted? Do people recognize that Trump is sort of being, I don't know, it's being made harder for him? I don't know. But it seemed obvious to me. Like, it seemed obvious that they were just giving her talking points and sort of letting her work through it. Okay, so she says... Oh, man, what does she say? Do we... sorry, let me know. I'll just keep playing little clips until somebody says, Pete, stop. No more. We've watched the debate. We need to move on. We need to heal. That's what we need to do. Okay, we need... You know what? We need scripture. That's what we need. You know what? We're going to take a little scripture break. This has been... We're going to heal the soul. Oh, man, dude, I can't spell Colossians. C-O-L. We'll just go with... there it is. 2 S's, of course. He is before all things. Okay. For he rescued us from the domain of darkness. Talking about Christ. Talking about the Lord. Hold on. Let me set this up so that I'm not in the way. I don't want to be in the way. He has rescued us from the domain of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption and forgiveness of sins. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, both in heaven and on the earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Now that even in the chaos of like a political system like this, even in Babylon, even in a world where the unborn are not protected, which is not a new thing. Like, that's an ancient problem. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. I have to believe, because I think if I didn't see this, I would despair. I would completely despair that he works all things for the good. He will work, like with Joseph, what we intend, what humanity intends for evil, God will turn into good. C.S. Lewis said the chief end of humanity will be the abolition of man, right? But here we have a God who became man and redeemed humanity. He's the second Adam. He conquered death itself. He is the head of the body of the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead. Okay, so the question then becomes, as a Christian, why doesn't God do something? Why doesn't he do something? I mean, how many unborn, and I would say lives, because I believe that, how many unborn lives? Why doesn't God do something? And the answer is that he has done exactly what we needed him to do. I know that may not help people in a particular situation in the moment of that situation, maybe having made a horrible decision in life and regretting it. But he conquered death. He did what we needed him to do. He rescued us from the domain of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption and forgiveness of sins. He did do something. I mean, he did do something. He did what what a life from death. Life from death is what he creates that. He creates life from death. And through him he reconciled all things to himself, having made peace through the blood of his cross. Through him, I say, whether things on earth or things in heaven, yeah, so without that, we're pretty lost. We're pretty lost, right? And with that, I almost don't want to go. I don't want to go back into this world of politics. I don't. I mean, I use it again, kind of as a benchmark, as a way to have these conversations. I think about theology, which I think is the most important thing we can talk about. And I think that we're seeing political chaos because we. What does Francis Schaeffer say? Francis Schaeffer compares. He's looking at Rome, and I did a video on this a while back. He actually is a really interesting video. Let me see if I can find that one, because we talked about how a nation collapses, and one of the things that happens at the end, like near the end of a national collapse, and Rome is the example that Schaeffer often pulls from, is actually a loss of story. We stop telling our story, the story of our nation or our tribe or our people. We stop telling that story, or that story becomes corrupted. I think we're definitely there. It was a video from a long time ago. But Schaeffer is comparing, he's looking at Rome, and he says the Roman gods were not strong enough to bear up under the increased political pressure that was going on. The Bible and the Fall of Nations, it was either this one or Freedom from Chaos and Tyranny. I sort of pull clips from Jordan Peterson and Francis Schaeffer. I think it was probably this one. And what he says is, I don't know why I put that in the chat. Stay here. I should put it in the description of the video. I think that's what I was going for. The Roman gods were not strong enough because they were amplified humanity and not divinity. And so you can't build a nation off of amplified humanity. It will end in chaos. That was Schaeffer's point. He's correct. We're seeing that. And we're building, we've sort of transferred the nation off of this idea that there's a God out there and he's sovereign and he's in control, and we've transferred it onto ourselves. And then we're not even really amplified humanity. We're not even good. We're not all that good. At least in Rome, they had these ideas of gods that were quasi divine. Certainly, maybe secular humanity thinks of ourselves as sort of quasi divine, but man, we're not. I mean, we're made in the image of God, so I guess that every good lie starts with a kernel of truth. So where do we go from here? This thing is still going, huh? This is wild. Maybe not. Now they're just doing post-debate sort of stuff. They're doing post-debate rhetoric. Closing statements. Yeah. If I see anything else, I'll post it on X. If I see anything else that I think is interesting. To be fair, I think it seems like, I think that there's a lot of probably people who are expecting Kamala to just come out and be like, blah, 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 she's obviously not that. Trump needs to smile more. He needs to go back to the when he was at the RNC, he was smiling after that attempt. Now he's not smiling anymore. He's back to old grumpy Donald Trump. Oh, there you go. That's a good one. There. What do you think of that? I don't know what they're saying there. But we might have. Sorry, I'm cracking myself up here. All right. We'll leave it with that. Hope you guys are doing well. Actually, you know what? I guess I need to do due diligence. What was the title and the thumbnail of this? Grim Grizz is gonna call me out if I don't. Presidential debate recovery live stream. Hopefully we did some recovery. We read part of Colossians chapter 1. And Joe Rogan's thoughts on abortion. Okay, we didn't touch IVF. I'm sorry. We didn't. Well, I did. We didn't show the clips of it. I'm sorry. I mean, that's even crazy that we can even do that. Sorry, hold on. I need to see your. Wait. Where'd it go? Oh, back here. Yeah, she has an interest. Like, I've noticed that she just really has like I don't know what it is like going on with her neck, but it is a little bit distracting. When you see it, you can't unsee it. But anyway, fun times. Pray for America. I don't know Henry Rollins. I don't know who Henry Rollins is. Sorry. Man, pray for America. Okay, well, I was going to do my due diligence and talk about what's upcoming. I did not post a podcast on Monday like I usually do. I've had to pace myself a little bit, and I will say what I'm working on is challenging me on some level, and so I want to give it some. Where is it? I'm looking into more on the connection, the Joseph connection. I think it's interesting. Okay, so here's one place I posted about it. David is a king, but he's no savior. To understand Jesus as savior, Joseph is a more clear image. This is what I'm working on. I think Christians have had sort of an unhealthy focus on Jesus as king, right? And as the son of David. We need to understand Jesus as the son of Joseph. We need to understand that. We need to understand what's going on in the Bible with regards to the Jesus and Joseph connection. Because interestingly, Joshua, which is Jesus' name, we would transliterate that, is a descendant of Joseph. He completes the picture, and he can do what Moses and the law could not do. Moses could not bring the people into the promised land, and there's a lot there. And my professor from Knox, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. I think I've shared it. Was doing a series through the book of Revelation, and he really advocates for the fact that Joshua, the book of Joshua, is really the framework that the book of Revelation is working through. and certainly it incorporates Daniel and incorporates all the from Genesis. It incorporates all of that, but really Joshua is the structure. And so what's happening there is it happens in Revelation. The trumpets of judgment become the trumpets of deliverance, depending on where you are standing. So Rahab was delivered, whereas the rest of the city was judged, right? So the trumpets that Israel is blowing are both trumpets of sort of doom and deliverance. Whew, that's interesting stuff. And so I'm really looking forward to getting into some of that. David Mitchell is somebody I've been looking at, but of course, Warren Gage, like I said, my professor from Knox, as well. I'm going to pull in some stuff from there, and then I'm going to look at Russel Brand, his conversation with Tucker. I want to do some of that because I really do think Russel Brand is something of a he's sort of got like an evangelist feel to him, like what did I say? Whitfield, right? He's sort of British. Oh, there it is. It's right there. It's right. Yeah. There's something about that, and is Russel Brand connected to sort of another awakening, or is Russell? He's a part of it. I don't think he would be the catalyst for it, but it's very interesting stuff that he said on the stage. So looking forward to making those. I'll post those when they are ready, regardless of whether it's Monday. Maybe even get one out Thursday. So we'll see. And then, I may. Well, follow me on X if you want any other updates other than that, because that's where I'm doing some rough draft stuff on X. He's known for his neck. All right. Well, I'm glad I'm not known for my neck. I don't know what I'm known for, but I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you hanging out on a night when, there's a debate going on. There's all kinds of other stuff going on. The domain of darkness is wandering around out there. But just remember, we have been delivered. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next